Live Not by Lies by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Commentary, opinions, speeches. As printed in Washington Post PA26, Monday, February 18th, 1974. Following is the full text of Alexander Solzhenitsyn essay, Live Not by Lies. It is perhaps the last thing he wrote on his native soil before the collapse of the Soviet Union and circulated among Moscow's intellectuals at that time. The essay is dated Feb 12 and the date that secret police broke into his apartment and arrested him. The next day he was exiled to West Germany. At one time we dared not even to whisper. Now we write and read Samistat, and sometimes when we gather in the smoking room at Science Institute, we complain frankly to one another. What kind of tricks are they playing on us, and where are they dragging us? Gratuitous boasting of cosmic achievements while there is poverty and destruction at home. Popping up remote, uncivilized regimes, fanning up civil war, and we recklessly fostered Mao Zedong at our expense, and it will be we who are sent to war against him, and will have to go, and there any way out, and they put on trial anybody they want, and they put sane people in asylums. Always they, and we are powerless. Things have almost reached rock bottom. A universal spiritual death has already touched us all, and physical death will soon flare up and consume us both and our children. But as before, we still smile in a cowardly way and mumble without tongues tied. But what can we do to stop it? We haven't the strength. We have been so hopelessly dehumanized that for today's modest ration of food we are willing to abandon all our principles, our souls, and all the efforts of our predecessors, and all opportunities for our descendants. But just don't disturb our fragile existence. We lack staunchness, pride, and enthusiasm. We don't even fear universal nuclear death, and we don't fear a third world war. We have already taken refuge in the crevices. We just fear acts of civil courage. We fear only to lag behind the herd and to take a step alone and suddenly find ourselves without white bread, without heating gas, and without a Moscow registration. We have been indoctrinated in political courses, and in just the same way was fostered the idea to live comfortably, and all will be well for the rest of our lives. You can't escape your environment and social conditions. Everyday life defines consciousness. What does it have to do with us? We can't do anything about it. But we can, everything. But we lie to ourselves for assurance, and it is not they who are to blame for everything, we ourselves, only we. One can object, but actually Toy can think anything you like. Gags have been stuffed into our mouths, nobody wants to listen to us, and nobody asks us. How can we force them to listen? It is impossible to change their minds. It would be natural to vote them out of office, but there are not elections in our country. In the West, people know about strikes and protest demonstrations, but we are too oppressed, and it is a horrible prospect for us. How can one suddenly renounce a job and take to the streets, yet the other fatal paths probed during the past century by our bitter Russian history are, nevertheless, not for us, and truly we don't need them. Now that the axes have done their work, when everything which has sown has sprouted anew, we can see that the young and presumptuous people who thought they would make out country just happened through terror. Bloody rebellion and civil war were themselves misled. No thanks, fathers of education. Now we know that infamous methods breed infamous results. Let our hands be clean. The circle, is it closed, and is there really no way out, and is there only one thing left for us to do, to wait without taking action? Maybe something will happen by itself. It will never happen as long as we daily acknowledge, extol, and strengthen, and do not sever ourselves from the most perceptible of its aspects, lies. When violence intrudes into peaceful life, its face glows with self-confidence as if it were carrying a banner and shouting, I am violence, run away, make way for me, I will crush you. But violence quickly grows old, and it has lost confidence in itself. And in order to maintain a respectable face, it summons falsehood as its ally. Since violence lays its ponderous paw not every day and not on every shoulder, it demands from us only obedience to lies and daily participation in lies. All loyalty lies in that. And the simplest and most accessible key to our self-neglected liberation lies right here: personal non-participation in lies. Though lies conceal everything, though lies embrace everything, but not with any help from me. This opens a breach in the imaginary encirclement caused by our inaction. It is the easiest thing to do for us, but the most devastating for the lies, because when people renounce lies, simply cuts short their existence. Like an infection, they can only exist, only living in a living organism. We do not exhort ourselves, we have not sufficiently matured to march into the squares and shout the truth aloud, or to express aloud what we think. It's not necessary. It's dangerous, but let us refuse to say which we do not think. This is our path, the easiest and most accessible one, which takes into account our inherent cowardice, already well rooted, and it is much easier, it's dangerous even to say this, than the sort of civil disobedience which Gandhi advocated. Our path is to talk away from the gangrenous boundary. If we did not paste together the dead bones and scales of ideology, if we did not sew together the rotting rags, we would be astonished how quickly the lies would be rendered helpless and subside. That which should be naked would be really appear naked before the whole world. So in our timidity, let each of us make a choice, whether consciously to remain a servant of falsehood. Of course, it is not our of inclination but to feed one's family, that one raises his children in the spirit of lies, or to shrug off the lies and become an honest man, worthy of respect both by one's children and contemporaries. And from that day onward he will not henceforth write, sign, or print in any way a single phrase which in his opinion distorts the truth, will utter such a phrase neither in private conversation, not in the presence of many people, neither on his own behalf, not at the prompting of someone else, either in the role of agitator, teacher, educator, not in a theatrical role, will not depict, foster, or broadcast a single idea which he can only see as false, or a distortion of the truth, whether it be in painting, sculpture, photography, technical science, or music, will not cite out of context, either orally or written, a single quotation so as to please someone, to feather his own nest, to achieve success in his work, if he does not share completely the idea which is quoted, or if it does not accurately reflect the matter at issue, will not allow himself to be compelled to attend demonstrations or meetings if they are contrary to his desire or will neither take into hand, not raise into the air a poster or slogan which he does not completely accept, will not raise his hand to vote for a proposal with which he does not sincerely sympathize, will vote neither openly nor secretly for a person whom he considers unworthy or a doubtful abilities, will not allow himself to be dragged to a meeting where they can be expected a forced or distorted discussion of a question. Go away, button, go away. Will immediately talk of a meeting, session, lecture, performance, or film, showing if he hears a speaker, tell lies or purvey ideological nonsense of shameless propaganda, will not subscribe to or buy a newspaper or magazine in which information is distorted and primary facts are concealed. Of course, we have not listed all of the possible and necessary deviations from falsehood, but a person who purifies himself will easily distinguish other instances with his purified outlook.